On June 15th, 2020, Bushiroad announced that they would no longer be making new product for their game Future Card Buddyfight. In their report, which I will link below, they simply just talk about what will be the final sets released, what will be in them, and also that tournaments will be supported until June 30th, 2021. So you're going to get like one final Springfest with the game. This announcement for many people kind of came out of nowhere. No one was really being led to believe Buddyfight was in a bad spot. And this is where in the video we move over from facts to a lot of speculation, my own opinions, and sort of the general community response to Buddyfight and sort of what people who had their sort of ear to the ground sort of thought of the game. So yeah, you've been warned if I end up saying something you're not going to want to hear. But yeah, no, let us start right at Buddyfight's beginning. The year is 2013, and the first time I heard about Buddyfight was actually at our championship tournament that year. I remember this because it was the same weekend Pokemon X and Y came out. Me and my boys got the game, and the tournament was actually out in Long Island. I'd never been to Long Island before. So we drove out to Long Island, got a hotel, played Pokemon, checked our decks, all that stuff, and proceeded to get our asses handed to us at the tournament the next day. Go figure. But while this tournament was going on, Bushiroad sent a representative or their president, I can't remember, to sort of talk about two new card games they were making, Future Card Buddyfight and Weish Wars. And the community as a whole responded with, what? Why? You see, at the time, and even still today, Vanguard didn't have a strong, presence in the card game world. The card game world is very clearly ruled by Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic, and Pokemon, and Vanguard was kind of the new up-and-comer trying to carve out a niche for itself. So for many people, considering it wasn't doing amazing to begin with, it seemed kind of crazy for Bushiroad to announce two new games. But when does logic ever stop Bushiroad? And they gave us, I remember, a Drum Bunker Dragon promo that was in Japanese, but didn't have any effects on it, just some text. I lost that a long time ago, actually. And we were all kind of like, well, I guess we'll see what happens. And then we saw what was going to happen, as Buddyfight was going to be marketed to children, and Weish Wars was being planned to be marketed to more sort of young adults, while Vanguard would be mostly marketed to teenagers. This was, in many people's eyes, kind of an interesting idea, sort of trying to have a niche for all age demographics. And while many of us still weren't sure what to expect, we were getting more interested. And then the games came out, and it was a total fucking disaster. You see, and again, obviously in Japan they kept to this marketing strategy, but in the West, they still continued to put no actual effort into marketing their games. Buddyfight really was just being marketed to the same crowd who played Vanguard. It wasn't on TV, the cards weren't in major retailers, everything was just that same demographic that they were just sort of telling you to buy more shit, play more card games. And, well, it kind of had its effect because Buddyfight never got as popular as Vanguard. Weish Wars is a little bit different, where because that game utilizes popular anime franchises instead of its own lore and artwork, it actually sort of allows itself to be marketed to cross demographics. People who will buy deck boxes for animes, they'll buy mats, they'll buy other product, sleeves and stuff. I personally own a couple Weish Wars cards from anime, and more specifically anime characters I like. So Weiss sort of gets to stay afloat because it kind of has some cross-marketing capabilities. But Buddyfight, really at its core, is kind of just in the same spot Vanguard is in, just worse because now it's less popular because you have less people getting into it because they're already playing Vanguard. No one new is learning about it, and no one new is trying it out. Everyone who tries it out is probably already playing Vanguard and just has a little extra coin to spend on something new. And this was very apparent when you went to Spring Fests and Fall Fests. Vanguard would get its own big day, and everyone would be there for it, while Weiss and Buddyfight would have Sunday to share between the two of them, and very rarely would you ever see the convention centers get particularly filled on the Sunday, even with two different card games going on. This almost in a kind of a way gets worse with the introduction of Premium, because now, if I remember correctly, at least a lot of times, Buddy Fight's on Saturday, Weiss is on Sunday, sometimes it's the opposite. The two games are just sort of being shuffled around as they're basically piggybacked by Vanguard. That doesn't really give an air of confidence. So yeah, you already had that problem. You then had the issue with the anime, and look, I shit on the anime a lot, but essentially the only real reason it went on hiatus was due to a dispute with the animation studio. So yeah, you had this game that kind of was just sort of being treated as it was there and clearly didn't have a lot of presence from Bushiroad to sort of keep it up to date. Which, and this is where I shock all of you, I'm actually a little disappointed in. Yeah, because you know what? Buddy Fight's a really fun card game. Like, it sort of takes the best aspects of Yu-Gi-Oh! And the best aspects of Vanguard and kind of melds them together. It feels like a nice balance between the two. The game is genuinely fun. A lot of the cards have cool effects. There's a lot of cool strategies. It's a fun card game. But the problem is no one knows about it. No one in my area already knew about Vanguard, so naturally even less of that nobody knew about Buddy Fight. So there is no Buddy Fight local in my area. I think the closest Buddy Fight local is about an hour from my house. So there's really no incentive for me to play it. Hell, I think my deck is probably 3 years behind on support. But yeah, no, like, and I feel like that sort of accessibility has always been Bushiroad's problem. There is very little attempt to sort of make the games for everybody, despite their continuing desire to push them to people and to push more product and to get you to buy more. A lot of times whenever I talk to vendors at big tournaments, like when I was at the Pro Play Tour Nationals back in Kissimmee, Florida at the beginning of the year, God, I never thought saying I traveled in 2020 puts me in a minority. A lot of them, when you ask them, why is there no Vanguard product for sale? You get the answer of, because no one cares. There's no interest. The game is just sort of plodding along, going by, just sort of existing. And that, I think, is sort of your problem. You see, in business, if you're not growing, you're dying. That's right, I just quoted Tommy Boy on y'all asses. But essentially what that means is that if you're not continually getting bigger, replacing the departing fans with new fans at a consistent rate, then the game can't really support itself. You may find those people who will spend a fuck ton of money on cases, on booster box, on extra product, but in reality, those people can't keep the game going. You need little Timmy to every week irritate the shit out of his parents to buy him booster packs if you want things to keep going. And, well, Bushiroad doesn't really put a lot of effort in things keeping going. Look at Luck and Logic. Look at Dragoborn. They go through all the effort to make these new games. Make an anime for one, this big marketing campaign for another, and it's kind of all for nothing because they don't really push it to a mainstream audience. They just try to keep it in the small niche that they can easily market it to, but that niche isn't really growing. So therefore, Buddy Fight has no real growing audience. So therefore, this is what ends up happening, and it kind of paints a bad picture for Bushiroad as a whole. This isn't like a bad experiment like Luck and Logic and Dragoborn. Buddy Fight was one of their flagship games. One of the things that was keeping them going over these past 6 years, and it's now been dropped. Combined with the fact that Cardfight Vanguard has now resorted to being a magical girl show with no card games, just summons monsters to fight for you, simply just to probably attract a larger audience, because make no mistake, as much as I love V-Series, when V-Series came out, a lot of people jumped ship on this franchise because they felt that simply just rebooting it after only one sequel was simply a sign of weakness. The franchise, fuck it, just Bushiroad in general, has not been in a super great spot at any point during the history of these card games, and it might almost seem like it's reaching a precipice at this point. Now again, I have no basis at this point for everything besides just kind of what's in front of me. I don't have facts, I don't have data. I am simply saying it doesn't look good. If they have to get rid of one card game, essentially be so embarrassed about their main card game they have to turn it into something else, while their third just sort of plods along and just kind of mostly relies on selling excess merch, it's not a good sign for where the company is going altogether. I don't know. Maybe Bushiroad will be fine. Maybe Vanguard will continue for another 20 fucking years. But I think realistically, there's some room to be worried. But tell me what you think below. Tell me what you think about Buddy Fight. Do you think it's fair for it to go? Would you like for it to stay? Would you like for Bushiroad to put some more effort into it? Tell me about that below. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and stay tuned for more updates.